Welcome back to another edition of the Pagcast. I'm your host, Michael Pagani, joined alongside MRU Mount Royal Cougars defenseman Clay Hanus. Clay, welcome to the Pagcast. Thank you again for coming on.
No, thank you. I appreciate you having me.
So I just want to open it up. Like, how have you been doing recently?
Doing pretty good. I just started kind of getting in the gym about last week again. Just trying to get bigger and stronger, and no, it's been good. Pretty light spring here. Gonna hit the golf links later today, and yeah.
So are you kind of just focusing on your upper body strength for this off season?
Yeah, I'd say my main focus has been my lower body strength, but yeah, definitely touching on my uppers too. Yeah, just trying to put on a little bit of weight, good weight obviously, and put on some muscle and have a good year next year.
With golfing, is that like a course that you haven't been to before, or did you golf on it before?
No, I went last week with my roommate. Me and him went out, and it's okay. It's the only one open here in Calgary. So it's called Heather Glen, but no, it's all right. It's not too bad.
Is it a friendly competition?
It is a little bit of a friendly competition. Yeah.
Getting into your story, was there a player growing up who you wanted to model your game after?
Um, Growing up, I would say I really liked Chris Letang. So I was number 58 in Portland. Um, and yeah, I just loved his game growing up. Good two-way defenseman and some offensive instincts as well. And yeah, I don't know. Growing up, I really liked him, and I loved Pittsburgh, obviously with Crosby and Malkin. So yeah.
Did you then grow up as a Pens fan?
Uh Minnesota Wild, but they weren't the greatest growing up. But yeah, when the Pens were kind of there, 2007, 2008, and they went on their cup runs, and then Mike Sullivan was there and whatnot. Yeah, I always liked the Penguins a lot.
So then, with you being from the Minnesota area, do you go out to a lot of like Golden Gophers or like college hockey games?
I've been to a couple Gopher games, but usually I'm gone playing during the year. But yeah, growing up, my dad actually played for St. Cloud State. So I remember when we were little, we drive up to St. Cloud and go watch their games and go down to the locker room after. And Bob Motzko was the coach there, and yeah, it was awesome.
How big of an influence was your dad to your game?
Yeah, I mean, he was the reason I started playing. He played at St. Cloud State for 4 years and then went on and played pro. So I mean, yeah, I think I just kind of took after him, and he had me on skates when I was young, and just kind of went from there.
How cool was it to be brought down to the locker room when your dad was playing for St. Cloud?
He wasn't playing, but it was when, yeah, like after he played and he knew all the coaching staff and everything there. It was pretty cool. And just kind of meeting all the older guys when I was young, and it was just cool to see their locker room, because never really got to see that when you're younger and you're going to public arenas and whatnot. So yeah, it was a pretty cool experience.
How cool is it that the Minnesota is hosting the World Juniors next year, the state of hockey?
Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's going to be great exposure for Minnesota. I think obviously high school hockey, college hockey are big there, so it'd be nice if the World Junior is gonna be there, and I think yeah, it's just gonna help grow the game.
Are you going to try and go to some of the games?
If I'm in town, I would 100%. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome because I know that like the crowd there is going to be unreal. It's going to be unreal.
Oh yeah, yeah. The crowd in Minnesota is always good, and yeah, the fans love hockey. That's why they call it the state of hockey. So no, it'll be awesome.
Did you go to a lot of Minnesota Wild games growing up then?
I did, yeah. So one of my good friends, his dad was an assistant coach there for a number of years, and then recently one of my friends is Bill Guerin's son. So we go to quite a few games when we can.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Before getting drafted to the Portland Winterhawks, you played with Minnetonka High. How did they kind of get you ready for the WHL?
Yeah, I played at Minnetonka. I played band, well, I played everything all the way up through mites, all the way up to high school. Every year I had great coaching staff, and Minnetonka, I think, is probably one of the forefront for high school hockey there in Minnesota. Then we Edina, Eden Prairie, Moorhead. Warroad, obviously. So they had a great system to work through, and yeah, just like me, there's a lot of other players that they succeeded as well.
What stood out for you during your rookie season with the Portland Winterhawks?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would say, well, my rookie year in Portland, we had an unbelievable team. Probably should have done better than we did, but we had all the right pieces. I think we had 3 first round picks. I think 9 guys that were drafted, 11 guys that signed contracts after the year. It was unbelievable team, and just kind of what they put in, every day to their bodies, and their work ethic, kind of all the cliche stuff, but it's true. So I think being a part of that at 16 and watching some really really good players kind of do their thing was very important for me.
How important was that one playoff game that you played in during that playoff run in your rookie season with the Winterhawks?
Yeah, that was awesome. Yeah, we played Spokane, and yeah, I remember Mike Johnson told me I was going to be playing, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, it was a thriller. I think we actually lost, and then they changed the lineup up, which I totally get. But yeah, no, it was awesome.
So that series against Spokane featured 2 overtime games, and it also went to a game 7. So being around that team and being around that culture in the locker room, how important was that for you to kind of take in and then progress along as it went with the Winterhawks?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I think we had a pretty high turnover rate of guys that year that went on to play pro from juniors. But it definitely got the younger guys ready for the coming years in Portland. And yeah, it was definitely something that was cool to be a part of. And then we went on to play Everett, and then we lost in, I want to say, 6 games, I believe, to Everett. But yeah, no, it was a good run, and we had an amazing team.
With Portland, they consecutively make the playoffs every year, it seems like. What's that like to be part of the winning culture there?
Yeah, I think just being in Portland, Mike Johnston, he kind of just implements that winning is the main goal. And every year it's like you're expected to win, you're expected to make playoffs, you're expected, to get past the first round. And that's kind of the standard there in Portland. And Mike Johnson, he did a phenomenal job at implementing that. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they do here in their next round.
You played with Seth Jarvis a ton. There's got to be some sort of story that you have of Seth Jarvis.
Um, I would say the biggest one that sticks out to me is we were on our way back on a road trip from Spokane. So we got home at like 3 a.m. and we parked our cars down kind of by the river because we couldn't park at like our rink because there was a concert going on. And we get back, and he had this old little Volkswagen car, and it got broken into by some homeless people. And yeah, they just shattered the windows and everything. And for about 3 weeks after that, he just had duct tape and wrapping around his windows and whatnot. It was pretty funny. That was probably the biggest one that sticks out to me. But there's a lot. He's an unbelievable guy, and he's very very funny.
Well, he was on the Team Canada Four Nations roster. So when you look at kind of how he progressed, did you kind of think that he was going to be part of a Team Canada roster in the future?
Honest, when he was in Portland, when he was 16, I was 17. I could see he was a stud. Even when he was 15 and he came up for a few games, I was like, he's going to be good. I, honestly, I think I kind of knew that he was going to come in to become the player he is today. Just his skating is unbelievable, and his skill set is probably the best I've seen, or one of the best. Yeah, I had no doubt that he was going to do kind of what he does today, and I knew one day he'd play for Team Canada. I know he kind of got snubbed from the World Junior roster his year, and but no, I knew he was gonna do just fine.
And he's going to be absolute dynamite for the Carolina Hurricanes in the playoffs.
Yes, he will. I'm cheering for them. Yeah,
I mean, how could you not, right?
yeah. No, they're awesome. They have a great team, and I think they got a pretty old team too. So I'd love to see them win something there.
Well, another player that you played with that just recently made his NHL debut, Luca Cagnoni of the San Jose Sharks. What can you tell Shark fans about kind of his game as part of just what he has developed into?
Yeah, he came in kind of as younger guy again in Portland. I think he was undrafted actually. But once I got on the ice with him, you could see that his skating and his puck skills and his offensive ability was phenomenal. You knew he was going to grow into eventually the player he is today. And yeah, he's a stud. He's going to be amazing for the Sharks. And yeah, great on the power play, very skilled, deceptive, kind of everything you look for in a modern day defenseman.
How is your confidence kind of, I guess, could you take me through your confidence through your time with Portland? Kind of the ups and downs that you had.
Yeah, no, it was, kind of every year was a building block. And then obviously we had the COVID year where I had to go play in the USHL. But no, every year kind of just you keep taking a step and you're getting older, getting bigger. Um, yeah, and you're trying to get ready for pro or U sports. So that was kind of the approach I took. I didn't try to look too much into the future and just take it one day at a time.
Could you kind of tell us the story of how you and the team found out that the WHO season was going to be postponed because of the COVID situation?
Yeah, I remember we were about to head up to Spokane to play. Like we got there in the morning from like the bus was going to bring us up, and for whatever reason, like we hadn't left yet. And then we're sitting on the couch and we had heard that the USHL canceled their season. So I think we kind of had a feeling that something was coming. And then Mike came in and let us know that there was going to be a 2 week postpone of of the season. And then they booked our flights, I flew back to Minnesota, everyone flew home. And then obviously, the season didn't get started up again. But then, the next year it's like we'd have a meeting every month or so, every couple of weeks. And it was like, we're going to try to start it here, and just kept getting pushed back and pushed back, which is very unfortunate. Um, but no, I mean, I think the WHL handled it about as good as you could have. It's a pretty hard situation to be in for them, especially, and got to take into account kind of the safety for everyone. But once we got back to playing and whatnot, the following year, I think they did about again as good as a job as you possibly could have. Kind of just like the NHL did by putting restrictions in and masks and tests and kind of everything you could have asked for. So it was nice to still be able to play a little bit that year. But definitely did suck to lose a year.
What was that WHL bubble like? Like, are you able to take me through? Because there was two hub cities that year. Are you able to kind of take me through how that all worked out?
Yeah, so in the U.S. division, we didn't have a hub. We all stayed at just our billet houses, but we weren't allowed to, really have, hang out with anyone outside of the rink other than your roommates, obviously at home. Then you'd have a COVID test every day at the rink, make sure you're cleared to play, whatnot. And you'd have to wear, had to wear a mask all the time, and definitely something I would never want to go through again. But we made it through it, and yeah, I'm happy that we did.
We're so with you kind of in that bubble per se. How weird was it going up against the same kind of opponent every time?
Yeah, it was pretty weird. Like you just play the U.S. division all the time, and obviously it's nice to play a different team here and there, but that was the reality, and you kind of just had to suck it up and be like, this is the year. And there was no kind of championship type thing. So you're just playing to see who could be the best team in the U.S. division at that point.
And how did that affect your motivation, or did it affect it at all? Because you're only playing against, three or four other teams in that division.
Um, I would say not really, just because I think everyone, every player is competitive. Whether you're on Tri-City or Seattle, it's like, yeah, the fans aren't there, and there might not be a championship at the end of the year, but everyone's competitive in their own way. And I think everyone wanted to battle every day, and that's why we were playing the WHL, because we wanted to battle, we wanted to compete, and we wanted to prove ourselves. And yeah, I think everyone did an amazing job.
I want to kind of comment on the Lincoln Stars USHL that you briefly brought up. It was you and a few other teammates that had signed with the Stars. Was that just to find ice time while the WHL was figuring out what to do?
Yeah, I remember, it was me, Cross, Hanus, James Stefan, and Jack O'Brien, us four, because we were US kids. So it made sense for us to go play there for the year. We had a talk with Mike Johnston. Mike, was totally on board with it. He wanted us to play, and yeah, he was just like, go down there, play, and once your guys' season's over, you'll come back and finish the year in Portland. And that's what we did. And I'm happy I went there. I met some, great people down there in Lincoln, improved a lot as a player. And um, yeah, it was a great experience.
How comforting was it that you had other teammates with you to go into this new change room, new environment, and kind of experience it all together?
Yeah, it was awesome. Me and Cross, we'd been billets for 2 years before that. And, we were billets there. And, me and him are very, very good friends. We always were billets in Portland. So it was nice to especially go there with him. And then James and Jack, they, them being American kids too, was, I knew them pretty well. And it is nice going into new environments with, familiar faces and whatnot.
In your last year of junior hockey, you were named the captain of the Portland Winterhawks. What does it mean to you to earn that honor?
Yeah, it was definitely a big honor. I'd been there. It was my fifth year there. So I think I put the time in, and I was very fortunate that the organization, thought of me that way. And yeah, I just, tried to lead to the best of my ability. And, we had a great team that year again. Kind of fell short in the second round of Seattle, but no, it was definitely something that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life, and it was an honor.
Well, I want to talk about that playoff run. In the first round, you guys went up against the Cougars, swept them, handled your business against them. What do you remember from that series? Because it was a pretty close sweep.
Yeah, I remember I got a concussion, like I think maybe in the second period of the first game. So I was out for the rest of the series. But I remember watching on kind of the TV at home at the Bill House and whatnot. And um, PG, I think they were a very hardworking team that year. But I think our team, we had a little bit more skill and finish, so kind of prevailed through that. And then we went on obviously to the second round against Seattle, and they had a stacked team. We had a very good team as well, and we were up 3-1 in the series and kind of blew the lead, and they came back in 7-1. Definitely something I look back on, and I regret it a little bit. I wish we could have got through there, but that's the way life goes, and you kind of have to just got to move on.
How do you kind of deal with the injury at the same time as because you really want to get back and you want to get back as soon as possible. So with a concussion, that is so kind of like up in the air with how you feel. It's almost like a day-to-day basis. So how do you kind of deal with that and trying to, I guess, put like aside the emotional and you want to make sure that you recover fully.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to teeter that because you want to get back as quick as you can, but you also want to get back in a safe manner. But I worked with Rich Campbell, and then there was a neuro doctor in Portland that the team had. So I worked with him for about a week and a half, and kind of kept going. And my goal was to play against Seattle. So I was very lucky that it happened in the first game, where it gave me a couple of weeks to get better before the next series. But yeah, it healed a lot better than I think we thought it was going to, and a lot of that just there was a lot of different procedures and whatnot that we would do with this neuro doctor. And like I remember there was times where they put like these headphones on like on your ears, and you take a nap, and you laying on like this weird bed that's supposed to help bring like more blood flow through your body and whatnot. Just all kinds of cool, you know, scientific stuff that I don't know exactly how it worked, but it worked. So yeah, no, I was very fortunate.
Well, let's hope you don't have to do that again, because as cool as it sounds, you probably don't want to do it again.
No, no, no. Concussions are not fun at all.
So how did you game plan? Like, take me through that game plan with Seattle. They're a loaded roster. You guys have your superstar talents of your own. It's almost like two Titans going head to head in the second round.
Yeah, it was crazy because I think Everett was the number one seed, and they lost to Vancouver, the Giants. So I think we were supposed to play
Kamloops was their team.
Kamloops. Yes, we were supposed to play Kamloops instead of Seattle in that second round, and then Everett and Seattle would have played.
Mhm.
But then, obviously Everett lost their series, which was pretty surprising. But yeah, no, going into Seattle was kind of like, whoever kind of wins here, I think, has a pretty good shot at going to the championship. Two massive, teams, and both very good. Yeah, kind of just came down to a little bit of luck of the draw, and we dealt with a couple injuries in playoffs there that hurt us a bit. But yeah, I gotta give kudos to them. They did an amazing job and they played hard. So yeah.
Hey, Pagcast listeners, I'm here to talk to you guys about DraftKings. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for the all high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw-dropping plays. I can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance where they drop 30 points, 40 or more. It's your call. Here's something special for the first timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPENY or text HOPENY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
Right after you finished with Portland, you had 2 games with the Wheeling Nailers of the East Coast. Kind of take me through, how did that opportunity come about?
Yeah, after my 20-year-old year, I signed a AHL deal with Wilkes-Barre. And then obviously, go to their camp and everything in the summer, and then in the fall, go to their camp and whatnot. And then started up in Wilkes-Barre, and then got sent down to the East Coast. And yeah, after 2 games, I broke my foot. And then, for the USPORTS WHL eligibility stuff, you have to make a decision by Christmas time if you want to go to USPORT, and then you don't have to redshirt a year or sit out, or you can stay in pro and then go the next year, but you'd have to redshirt. So just kind of being in the position I was at, I had a broken foot. So I knew I probably wasn't going to be playing, for a while longer. I thought it was smart of me to go to college and start getting my degree and play there.
How important is getting the degree and staying in school while also playing for hockey or with hockey?
It is important. Yeah, I didn't really realize that a whole lot when I was younger, because hockey's, really your main focus. But as I've gotten older, getting a degree is something, that no one can ever take away from you. You put in the time and the work to get that. And it's nice to be able to do that and still play hockey at a high level. But yeah, so I'm in business management right now, and after, I'll graduate next year. So yeah, it's definitely something I'm very proud of.
I'm not sure if you've heard of the week that Ryan Leonard has had with the Washington Capitals. After Ovechkin scored to break Gretzky's record, he had to submit a quiz at 11:59 that same day. Is there anything crazy that you've had to do at MRU similar, or no?
Not as much, just because when we're playing on the team, the professors and the school is very good at, helping you out. If, you can't make a quiz or whatnot, they'll push it back or give you an extension. So MRU's done an amazing job helping out their student athletes, especially the hockey team there. But I definitely know a little bit where he's coming from. I think if you go to the NHL or whatever and you're playing and you got a quiz, that'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, especially after that big of a moment.
Oh yeah, Ovechkin, what a player, hey?
Oh, I know. Just he's setting so many records, 40 goal seasons, breaking Gretzky's record. He could seriously challenge the combined regular season, postseason goal record as well.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think I saw a stat today. He was like 290 hits away or something too. So it's pretty amazing he can do that at the pace he's scoring as well.
So I kind of want to get your thoughts. The NCAA and the CHL, they had a huge monumental, I guess, bill passed where, CHL players can now play in the NCAA and, overagers can go to D1 college, as we're seeing with a lot of players signing with D1 colleges and committing there. So I guess, like, what are your thoughts about that? And it's really unfortunate that it wasn't available for you at that time.
Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of these kids to be able to play in the WHL, which is an amazing league, and then go on and get their education and also play at a very high level in NCAA. I think, it could have happened sooner, but, that's just kind of the way the world works. And, I don't, regret any of the decisions I made. I had an unbelievable time in Portland, and I loved being able to come here at Mount Royal, and I think I developed as a person and as a player a lot. But no, I think it's phenomenal. I think it's great for the game. Not putting so much pressure on these kids at a young age to make a decision. And, I think I'm very happy for all the younger guys and for everyone that this is the way that it went.
How did you decide to commit to MRU? Kind of what were the factors there?
Yeah. Honestly, at the time, there was a guy named Riley Sawchuk and Nolan Uremko that were playing there. And then obviously Connor Bouchard. And I knew they had a really good team that year. I was kind of debating where to go. I didn't know a whole lot about USPORTS being an American kid. But, I was kind of looking at here, Calgary or University of Alberta. I wanted to stay out west, just being in the Western League, and a lot of the guys, played in the WHL or playing on those teams. So I wanted to stay kind of out there, and I really wanted to be in Alberta as well. And MRU had a good team that year and had some good players, and Bert did a good recruiting job of getting me. And no, I wouldn't trade it for anything. I've had a great time, made tons of friends, and a lot of memories that I'll cherish.
Are there guys that you battled with in the WHO that are now on your team?
Yeah, like, well, Connor Bouchard, we played. We played each other from 16 up to 20. He was on Tri-City. Blake Stevenson, Remy Acklin, I think Kyle Walker, and then obviously Curtis Smythe, Shane Farkas, and Robbie Fromm-Belorme I played with in Portland for a number of years as well. So it's pretty interesting how kind of the world works. And, it's a small world. Everyone at some point is connected. And, no, it's been awesome to play with all of them.
You played the Saskatchewan Huskies in your first year with MRU, and you got swept. The MRU Cougars swept the season series of the Huskies. However, you guys came up short against them in the playoffs. What did you notice about them playing in the regular season versus the playoffs? Like, how did they kind of adjust their style of game?
Yeah, they've always been, very, hard physical team to play against. A lot of Sasky boys. So yeah, they play hard. And I think, they just kind of brought it to another level in playoffs, and they played our top guys, heavy and hard. And, they capitalized on the opportunities that they got, and we didn't. And, it was very unfortunate because we had such a good team, but, it worked out because, eventually a couple years later, then we made it to the national tournament this year for the first time. So that was cool. And, yeah.
Well, I want to get into that national tournament a little bit later, but in your first full season, you averaged over point per game. What contributes most to that? Was it your off-season training? Was it just playing with the type of teammates that you had?
Yeah, I think it was probably a mix. As I've gotten older, obviously you get bigger, you get stronger, and then I had some, very, very good players to play with as well. So, they always make it a little bit easier. And then, all my years here, we had a good power play, so that always helps kind of as well. Yeah, I think kind of just a mix of everything, and just kind of finding your stride and maturing as a person and a player.
Speaking of the playoffs, so with U Sports, it's one game elimination with or best of three, sorry. And then with in junior hockey, it's best of seven. So how does that kind of change your mindset and attitude when you go from playing 4 to 5 seasons in the WHL to U Sports, where the playoffs are so much shorter, so much quicker, and the margin of error is that much slimmer?
That is, yeah, it is crazy playing a best of three. It's like it feels like every game is a game seven kind of.
Yeah.
Where in the dub, obviously, it's extremely intense as well. But there's 7 games, so it's hard to kind of keep that pace, that game seven pace up for 7 games. Where in U Sport, yeah, when you're playing a best of three, it's like all 3 games are kind of feels like a do or die game. So the intensity is definitely just ramps up quite a bit.
You played the Calgary Dinos in your second year in the playoffs, but you guys have the Crow Child Classic against them. What's that like? What's that rivalry like?
Yeah, yeah, UFC and MRU is obviously a great rivalry. I think this year, I think we swept them, or maybe we lost. I think we went 5-1 against them this year. But yeah, they've historically had an amazing program. Howell does a great job coaching there. They have got some really, really good players and players that have gone on to play pretty high level pro. But no, it is pretty cool, especially playing in the Crow Child game in front of all your peers and people you go to school with and friends and family. And yeah, it is amazing. It's a very, very unique and cool game.
Well, it's also at the Saddle Dome too. So it's like a packed barn.
Oh yeah, it is packed. It's like you can't hear anything when you're there, and obviously it's like 10,000 drunk students yelling and whatnot, and it's definitely something really that's very, very cool and something I'll definitely cherish.
Well, this season, you won U Sports Player and Defenseman of the Year. What's it like to win those awards?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Again, I had a great team, so they definitely helped me out, and I was very fortunate to be able to win both. But I think a lot of it just a lot of my teammates were awesome, and just some absolute studs and horses there that definitely helped me out as well.
At the awards ceremony, you were kind of more so mentally preparing for the next day, which was the TMU game. Since the season is over, have you had time to really reflect on this year?
Yeah, I think kind of when you're in the awards ceremony, you hear your name called. It's a very cool moment, but at the same time, you got to shift your focus because I remember we had practice after the award ceremony in the morning. You just got to shift your focus to the next day, and you can reflect on everything after the season. So that was kind of my goal, and just trying to get ready for the next day to play.
Well, this was the program's best finish and their first ever appearance at Nationals, or at the Nationals and the Canada West Championship. How does that speak to the level of buy-in from the players?
Yeah, this year we had a more veteran group than we'd had, and guys that had been there for 2, 3, 4 years. Kyle Walker did a great job as a captain. The coaching staff did a phenomenal job. I think kind of from the start, we knew we had a really good team. And our end goal was to make it to nationals and to win a championship, which we fell short. But I have full confidence in the guys for next year that they're gonna bring home some hardware.
How do you prepare for a team that you never played before?
That is hard, actually. It's a very good question. Honestly, a lot of video, and then at the end of the day, you can't overthink it. You just have to play your game and trust that your systems and that the way you've practiced and whatnot, muscle memory is just going to take over. That was kind of our thought process first.
So you didn't really call up any other guy saying like, "Hey, this is what so and so does on TMU," nothing like that.
No, not necessarily. We were just watching some video, got a feel for their PK power play, some of their forecheck or whatnot, and then just you trust your structure and trust your system, trust what's kind of worked for you all year, and you don't shy away from that, and see how the game goes.
Were you expecting to play 8 periods of hockey?
I was not. That was probably the most exhausting event of my life. That was pretty crazy.
Because the Zamboni broke down before one of the overtime periods, which
Yes,
delayed
it did.
everything.
Yeah, it did. It delayed it by about 30 minutes. That was crazy.
So how did that kind of like, did that affect your preparation for the period, or like what was going through your head when you hear that the officials have to kind of hold you guys back?
Honestly, it was a little bit of a relief because I was like, all right, we get an extra 15 minutes here to, maybe get some more sugar in you or carbs or whatnot and get your legs going, maybe take your skates off because they're just, I mean, my skates, I remember felt like they're like 10 pounds, just filled with sweat. Put them on the dryer or whatnot. I personally enjoyed it. Maybe some guys didn't, but I was like, all right, get a little more time here to rest up and hopefully try to win the game.
Did you notice that the arena got more full as the game went on?
I didn't even notice. I was like, it was crazy. I was telling my parents this. It was like that whole overtime after the first one, it felt like I was almost in like a simulation, like nothing else in the world was even relevant. Like I couldn't have any other thoughts. It was weird. It is the weirdest mindset, weirdest game I've ever been a part of. And, it's very unfortunate that we fell short. But again, that's kind of the way life goes, and see what happens next year.
How did you stay as healthy as possible during the intermissions? You mentioned the sugar, the carbs. Like, were you cramping, or like, did you have the ice bags going?
Yeah, like we had the ice bags going on our legs and whatnot, and I think everyone cramped. To be honest, I started cramping after the third OT. Like you couldn't be out there for longer than 20-25 seconds, or else your legs were shot. So quick shifts and yeah, just try to fight another day. And probably looking back on it, we probably could have changed maybe our structure a little bit, went into more of a trap or something to save our legs and save our energy. But obviously, when you're in it, it's hard to make those decisions.
One of the goals that you guys allegedly scored got disallowed. How did you remain focused when that got waved off?
Yeah, that was kind of a bit of a dagger. It would have put us up 4-1, and I think their team, they got a little bit of energy from being disallowed to keep it a 3-1 game, 2-0 game going into the third. Then they scored in the second to make it 3-2. So then going into the third, it was a 1-goal game for them, and they got energy and they rode it, and yeah, they did a good job and they capitalized on the opportunities that they needed to.
Well, one of my final questions for you is, do you have any advice for younger hockey players?
I would just say enjoy the ride. Like, it's an unbelievable time when you're in the Western Hockey League, or even when you're in Bantam, and then when you're obviously playing NCAA or U Sport. You just got to enjoy it. Don't look too far ahead, and don't take hockey too seriously. It is a game, and I know everyone wants to go play pro and whatnot, but you have to enjoy it, and you need to learn to love the training piece as well, not just the games. And I think the biggest thing is just enjoy the ride and have fun, because it doesn't last forever.
Awesome. Well, I'd like to thank again Clay Hanus for joining me on today's podcast. Thank you again, Clay.
Thank you.